This week on The Big Show. If my script was queued up, there we go. Festival season is underway, and this week, the DC BFF is underway in the nation's capital. Festival director and founder Kevin Sampson will join us to talk about the 5th annual event. Plus, we'll discuss in reviews this week the new releases, The Night House, The Protégé, Reminiscence. Plus, we got Marvel news that Wilson Morales is going to give us this week. He will join us along with Charles Kirkland Jr. I want to talk about Wakanda Forever. Chadwick Boseman early this week. They got a release coming up in September, and the trailer dropped a couple of days ago for their other big film that's coming out this year. So we'll have all that and more on episode 468, Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. The light is on in the theater. I don't know why y'all guys ain't here. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon. Charles Kirkland is making faces that I don't understand. You don't see the light on behind me in the theater. I said the light is on. Why y'all ain't in the theater? But another story.
Oh, that's what that was supposed to mean? You lost me for a second there. I was confused.
Apparently, I lost Wilson Morales, too, who is trying to cheat by studying. We talk. I don't even understand why you got to study. I'm not asking you.
There's no study.
I'm not asking you any questions about government, health. We're talking about stuff you post about every day. Films, television. Wilson Morales.
Okay, if that's your way of saying go on in.
No. That is not my way of saying go on in. I was saying that there's no need to study here. Now, before we get started, I wanted to just say, and Wilson has done enough junkets, and Charles has probably done some as well. I remember vividly going out to LA one time, and we were in the middle of some junket. I don't even remember the film it was. But I saw all these young kids in the hallway on the floor, and Wilson, you've seen this too, where they're writing out questions and studying and trying to get prepped to go in. I'm like, dude, just go in there and have a conversation with the talent. It's not that serious. You're not studying the LSATs or your, this is not a test. It's just an interview. It is not that serious.
And granted, here's the thing. People want to be prepared. I get that, and I always say sometimes there's a difference between a reporter and a journalist. You can send a reporter to cover anything, and they can cover whatever the material is at that point. But a journalist will have a longer range of knowledge that they don't really need notes. We've seen enough of their projects. We've seen the film. We have a better insight that I don't need to look at their bio to tell me what they've done before, And at the same time, now I get the whole notes thing if you got a longer time period to talk to the subject, But if you're only going in there for 5 minutes, what could you possibly be studying?
Right. You go in there for 5 minutes, you might get lucky to ask 2 questions in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you and I and all the 3 of us have been in interviews where you can ask 1 question and that's your time. Because the guy will just talk and you just like. So I said all that, man, because that's what I was thinking about when I initially when Wilson was studying, because you don't have to study on this show, man.
I never studied.
So needless to say, man, we got a big week coming up. We're a couple of weeks away from Labor Day. Of course, the Toronto International Film Festival is about less than a month away. I know Telluride is getting ready to get started pretty soon if it hasn't started already. We talked about Kevin Sampson and the DC BFF. So we are hitting festival season, Wilson, the back end, which basically means that we are now literally less than 4 months away from, the first of the 3 rounds leading us to, kicking off award season, right? So you're talking about critics groups, which happen normally in December, the Golden Globes, which will not be broadcast this year. They're still having the Globes. Am I correct? It's just not going to be broadcast.
No, they're not having no Globes.
So no Globes. So we will have the Critics' Choice Association, which everybody here belongs to. And that's in early January. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be in person or if we're going to be virtual again, depending on what the pandemic situation is. And then the Oscars, for some inexplicable reason, instead of being in late February, will be in late March. So I just think it's just, Wilson, we learned last year, it's just far too long of an award season that, you lose people because there's a small group of films that people are going to start talking about from December to now March. And there's this kind of fatigue factor that we experienced last year going into April. Charles, I'll lead off with you. I mean, we're going to get to Wilson in a second. Talk to me about, am I off base, or is there something very real there about what we're talking about with this elongated award season?
I think there's something very real there. I don't know what their rationale is. And, you know, this was even before pandemic that they were moving these timelines way out of bat. And you know, it's just crazy that for 4 to 5 months, we're going to be discussing the same movies over and over and over again because they can't seem to have all these things. It didn't take that long for them to March. For me, this is the first time that I was hearing that it's going to be late March that they're having this festival. I mean, this award show, the Oscars. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why. I don't know why if they're setting themselves apart so that they can have their own time frame or something. But it's just ridiculous.
Now, Wilson, I also understand that the Winter Olympics are going to be coming in mid-February, so I think their decision was based on that. But I would have still have loved to have seen the Oscars return back to the end of February, which is a natural progression to kind of finish off the film season. What are you hearing or thinking around, as I said, a second year in a row that we're going to have like another super long award season?
Well, it's like politics, you know, at the end of the day, when people are running for a certain, election, you know, you go through months until it happens, you know, it's like, and that's a longer period, you know, because then it whittles it down to like 2 or 3 people, just like the Oscars, you know. There's a longer period of those films who are in contention until the final 5 are selected. So everybody's fair game, you know, which is good because I'm sure producers think they can make more mileage out of it, knowing that like, hey, listen, if they know they don't have a shot, but they're still in the running officially, they're going to shoot their shot. Whereas if they can make a profit, it's no different than Broadway, you know, and the music industry, you know, when they make these selections, and especially Broadway, when those nominees come up and look at the Tony Awards. It's been a year and a half, and they still haven't done it, and they're going to do it in September. And so like they're going to milk those nominees to get more people to come in to see those shows. And so with the Oscars, it's like, hey, listen, we've gone through this over and over again. It's never been the one such date for the last 94 years. They fluctuate, you know, we just got to roll with it.
All right. Well, the last thing I will say, and nobody needs to comment, is I think the big difference this year versus last year is last year when the award season went into April, well, I think late April, they at least extended the deadline so they didn't shut off films at the end of December. I think they stretched it out to the end of February. So there were a lot of contenders that we saw: Judas and the Black Messiah, Anthony Hopkins' film, I can't remember the name. The
Father.
The Father. And you also had the U.S. versus Billie Holiday that were high-profile February releases, right, that were also in the awards race. This year, you're going to have the Oscars at the end of March, but they're cutting off the eligibility period. They're not cutting it off, but they're going back to the standard 1 January to December 31st. So when I say, you know, you're going to have a certain group of films, it's like, how many times are we're going to talk about The Tragedy of Macbeth and Frances McDormand and Denzel Washington over the course of 3 months? We're going to talk about it a lot.
You don't have to talk about it. You just got to change the narrative and see where it goes. Yeah, you know, there's always, you know, here's the thing. There's a lot of awards groups that have that, you know, who's up top, you know, in terms of like who, you know, who's the front runner, who's close to winning, and so forth. You know, and then you have other outlets that try to balance the scale by choosing out one film or another. It's like wag the dog. You know, it's like, oh, if you're going to keep talking about this one film over and over again, they're the ones that everybody's going to, you know, be paying attention to because we keep talking about it. But if there are other smaller films that could get attention, you know, like let's say last year, we kept talking about Miss Juneteenth. You never know, you know, where it may go. But if you keep talking about like the bigger films because they have the bigger names, of course, that's where the majority of people are going to look for. You know, as opposed to like there's films that's going to be noticed because of names, there's films that's going to be noticed because of the story.
All right. Okay. Wilson Morales and I, if you traditionally watch this show, we will always never be in agreement on these business aspects because Wilson doesn't really care about the business. Wilson is just reporting, right? And
But I
I'll
always
come
tend
back
to be
later on
right,
and
though.
call Wilson and be like, I tried to tell you.
But I tend to be right, and every now and then I'll say to Tim, I think you may have been right what you said regarding like the whole Amazon and MGM situation. I think he was onto something there.
But you're right. I'm just saying it's opinion. We don't really know, and it's months ahead. So there's no need. I'm not trying to be in the credit business. I'm just laughing because Wilson and I have these conversations on there and off about like I tried to tell you, Wilson. But so having said that, Wilson, go ahead, Charles.
If they move these timelines so that they could get it right, but they moved the Oscars to April and they still didn't get the best actor Oscar correct. So if they're gonna move it back there, get it right. Just do it right.
That's in your opinion. That's in your opinion.
All right.
I think that was pretty much in everybody's opinion.
No. This is a no judgment zone. Wilson is entitled to his opinion. You're entitled to yours.
I think even Anthony Hopkins was in the same opinion as everyone else. It should have been somebody else's award. So I mean,
raise a man.
Let it go, people. Let it go. We're moving on to this year. So having said that, Kevin Sampson just alerted me that he's in the middle of fest, can't get out. So I totally get it and I understand. So the DC BFF is happening in DC through Sunday. I will be a part of the film critic panel on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. So if you want to check me out and listen to me argue without Wilson or Charles, I'll be on a panel with 4 other people that I can have my film musings with. So we'll have that. But having said that, we're going to pivot. Wilson, it's been a big week, man. You posted a lot of Marvel news. I know the Eternals trailer dropped.
Before we leave this topic, I just got to say this. Critics' Choice better have an award this year. I'm in this year. They need to have an awards. I need to go there. Now,
you are not going to Los Angeles, man. I mean, it's good. You can try it. You'll be there alone. I don't think, because I talked to one of the board members. I don't think they're having a live event again. Nothing in LA is live right now. Wilson has no comment. Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why Charles brought that up, but it's okay. I mean, there'll be a Critics' Choice show that you can go to when it's safe that everybody can go again. So that'll happen. So, but there will be a show. You'll be able to watch it like you did last year. So Wilson, I wanted to talk to you because it's a big week for Marvel. Did you have a chance this week to see the upcoming film that we can't talk about because it's embargoed?
Yes, I did have a chance to see that.
Okay, so you saw. So all of us saw that this week. The Eternal. We can't talk about that, but the Eternal trailers dropped. Chadwick Boseman, his final appearance on What If was on Wednesday, and then as I said, you have other news about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So Wilson, take it away, my friend.
Well, it was just announced that in which Kevin Feige confirmed that Dominic Thorne, who was last seen in Judas and the Black Messiah and is scheduled to play Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, will make her first appearance in Black Panther: Wakanda. Now, Ironheart is going to be a series on Disney Plus. For those who don't know, Ironheart is based on a teenage girl who was given permission by Tony Stark to take up the mantle in some sort of way without giving it much. But she will be making her appearance in Black Panther: Wakanda. We're starting to get more and more names being tossed as far as who's in the movie that's confirmed. So, it comes out next year. So, I'm always excited not to know much because I want to be excited to see the movie. This particular week, there's a lot going on. You've got Sam Jackson's out in The Protégé along with Maggie Q and Michael Keaton, directed by Martin Campbell. Martin Campbell's known for doing some of the James Bond film, The Foreigner. Sam Jackson, Michael Keaton, obviously they go way back to when they did Jackie Brown, so like there's some good action films in there. Sean Penn has Flag Day, which just played at Cannes Film Festival. And, it's about, it's pretty much like a nepotism film because basically his daughter and son are in the movie and his daughter's the star, but you have a small appearance by Oscar winner Regina King.
Man, you spoiled it, man. It's uncredited, man. Come on, Wilson. You know better than that.
No, it's just like, no. You also have The Night House, which is directed by Rebecca Hall, who, for most people, is one of us. No, just
wow. Just go there, man. It's one of us.
She's got a movie coming out called Passing later on this year, which she directed. And for those who don't know, Rebecca Hall's mom is part African American. She's a British opera singer. I forgot her last name, so you guys got to go Wikipedia that. On Netflix, you have Sweet Girl starring Jason Momoa, another action film. And I'm a sucker for his movie. So you've got that's out right now. Reminiscence, you've got, Hugh Jackman, Tandaway Newton, Rebecca Ferguson, directed by Lisa Joy, who's known for her creation of Westworld on HBO. So that should be of interest. There's a series, you got a couple of folks that star in the series. Oscar winner Octavia Spencer is back in season 2 of Apple TV's Truth Be Told. And along with her is Michael Beach and Tammy Roman and Emmy Award winner Ron Cephas Jones. So that should be of interest right there. You've got Marlon Wayans in his comedy special, what it is, that I think is playing on HBO Max. And then you have Regina Hall opposite Nicole Kidman and Melissa McCarthy in 9 Perfect Strangers, which is not a comedy, which is a series, and it's an interesting thing in there that Regina Hall is in the series with Nicole and Melissa. Those 3 names are alone should entice you to go check it out. And then there's a nice series on Netflix called Clickbait, which I happen to catch, stars Adrian Grenier and Betty Grabio. And it's about Adrian's playing a character that gets kidnapped and has a sign that says, at 5 million views, I will die. And it's a matter of can they find him in time? Why was he kidnapped? That's all you need to know. So there's a lot going on.
So Charles, I just want to ask a question, and I'm not being funny. We always talk about that there's just far too much content. What do you do, Wilson, other than post news and watch movies? Do you do anything else? Because I don't understand how you're able to watch all this stuff. I mean, I'm not being funny.
Well, one, as press, and we all are press, you get these things in advance and plenty of time to spare an hour here, an hour there, or 2 hours here. It's not like we're watching all of this stuff this week. Some of the stuff we've seen, at least I've seen, some time back. It's just now coming out now. You balance it out when you can see it. It's no different than when we were going to screenings and you had dates and you had to say to yourself, well, if I don't see this on Monday, I'll see this on Wednesday because I want to catch this thing on Tuesday. And then remember, this is our day job. At night, you try to do something different. But with the recent COVID coming back up, the deviant or whatever they call it, no one's going back out. So you've got more time now to do, to concentrate on TV and films. You ain't trying to get into a large crowd again. Start coming home and cough.
It's called the Delta variant, man. With the deviant.
The deviants are the villains in the Elementals.
It's like I combined it.
Man, I'm just messing with you. But to my point, I'm in awe because again, I get these opportunities too, and I'm like, man, I can't do it all, man. Charles and I talk about this all the time. I can't see all this stuff, man. It's just too much.
Some of the stuff I haven't seen all of it, but I'm just making mention of what's out there. And I think part of the show and what we all do is to make mention of what's out there, because a lot of these shows need visibility. It's easier to talk about any show that has bigger known names, or Michael Douglas and Kate Winslet and stuff like that. But and granted, not everybody has a lot of these acts, so you can only tell them to do it, in case they do have it. because with as many apps that we sometimes have, even if we don't have enough apps, if you've got cable, there's a gazillion channels, you know? And so like, I pay for cable, but I don't watch 500 channels. You know, it's always tough trying to figure out what's happening. Oh, that's playing on today. Back in the day, I remember I used to buy the TV guide and get an idea. Nowadays, where are you looking to see what's on TV? You know,
it's funny.
What are you looking at? It's like, you know, you're going to have a mind of like, okay, it's 8 o'clock. You want your choice of 5 options. Either I go outside, I'm with some friends, or if I'm home and I'm watching something, what can I watch? Or do I just pick up a book and read? Or if you have family time and so forth.
All right. Well, you know, Wilson made a great point, Charles. We're going to pivot to our first movie I want to talk about this week. As a joke, I'm calling it the urban psychological horror film, but it's actually not an urban film, but it stars Rebecca Hall. When he said one of us, I was like, oh, look at Charles. Oh, soul sister Rebecca Hall. I did not know that her mother was African American.
She just went to the Martha's Vineyard African American Festival.
No, I saw that. I was like, I said, what is Rebecca Hall doing that? And then when you said that, I went, oh yeah, okay. But her upcoming film that we're talking about today is called The Night House. Psychological horror film.
It's summertime, and people are being careful about where they go. But she went to the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. That alone tells you something.
She's one of us. So this film, of course, is directed by David Bruckner, based on an original screenplay by Ben Collins. The film stars Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, and Bonnie Curtis Hall as also in this film. This film premiered at the Sundance Film Fest, to Wilson's point, back in January. And it tells the story of a woman reeling from the unexpected death of her husband, who's left alone in a lakeside home we built for her. She tries her best to keep it together, but then the dreams come. Wilson, I know you saw this film. Charles, did you get a chance to see The Night House?
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm going to go first. I'm going to let Wilson do what Wilson does, which is come in and crush whatever I say. I watched this movie, and I will, you know, if you know anything about me, and if you've watched this show over the course of 12 or 13 years, you know thrillers is sort of kind of work for me, but I get down into what I call the common sense element of watching films, right? So when I'm looking at the execution, I'm looking at the story. And in this one, I think this is actually a pretty good one. You know, it talks about this house that she's living in. Her husband has committed suicide as the film starts, probably about a week and a half going into the story. She's left in this house, and all these strange occurrences start happening. She gets a phone call from her husband, who is now gone, and you're trying to figure out what's going on there. There is an incident where they have a boat outside the night house. She sails across the water and finds the identical house with her in it. So you're trying to figure out, as you're watching through the second and third acts, like, where's the story going? What am I looking at? And at the end, to be perfectly honest, there's a scene. The third act is very harrowing. But at the end, I really don't feel like you get any conclusion. Like, I was looking for the twist. Like, what is the story about? What is the genesis behind these things that are happening? And despite the fact that we sort of get some resolution, it left me a little lukewarm. That's what I would say. I thought Rebecca Hall's acting was pretty good. I thought Bonnie Curtis Hall, it was a role that almost anybody can play. He didn't really bring anything to it, anything special. But like I said, I probably need to go back and watch it again, because I felt like it's missing something. Like, it's missing the explanation that would sort of be the bow to kind of tie the whole film together. Wilson, what did you think about The Night House?
I kind of look at it like I did certain films. Like, it started off, it's like a house of cards, you know, like you're putting it up top and it's not crumbling. You keep going. And at the very end, when you think you got it, everything falls apart. And the story itself was intriguing. You're like, yo, okay. You're wondering where it's going. And at first I was wondering, are we getting another version of The Invisible Man? You know,
right. Same thing.
It had that sort of feeling of it. Like, you know, is she going psycho? Is this guy really alive? And so forth. And then the third act was like, riddle me this. What's going on? You know, it's like you got no answer. Like they just went to another level, and it was just like, and that kind of turned me off because I was like, you walk out of there and you're like, what the hell was I just watching?
So Wilson, did you feel like you got resolution? Like, did you feel like they fully explained?
No.
Okay, so it just wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. It was like that third act, and that's the important thing about any movie. It's the third act. You can always entice them about what the movie's about. Then the middle is like yada yada, you know. Then it's a payoff at the end. The payoff at the end has got to deliver, and it didn't deliver. It's no different than, let's say for example, Us. We liked Us for what it was in the beginning, but when it into that whole third act, which I still don't know how to explain, I'm like, what are we getting? You know, like, dude, it's like looking at the painting. I can't see the dog. You know, so it's like I don't know what you're trying to tell me.
Is it the kind of movie that is setting up like a sequel, or is it
no, bro? I just felt, you know, to Wilson's point, the disappointment in the third act. I just felt because it kind of gives you clues, Wilson, along the way that, you know, something's gonna happen. Like you said, is this an Invisible Man situation? Is he gonna come back? Like, are we? But at the end, we all end up feeling punked because I'm like, that's it. That's this. Like, you didn't tell me anything. I'm like, okay, so maybe they lost it in the edit, Wilson. I don't know what happened, but
I can only imagine that if I was in one of these fancy theaters where you can, you know, call for like, you know, food service, I say, can you go get me my money back?
Good point.
You know, like, how can I help you, sir? What would you like, my buddy?
So what would you give The Night House as a grade?
I'd give it a C. I'd give it a C only because it's like that third act. It's just like, you know, and the thing is, it's like you're drained. You don't want to go back and like, let me try to figure it out. No. Like you said, some of these characters, like Ronnie Curtis Hall, like anybody could play that role. You know, it's like they were just props, you know, fillers.
Pretty much. I would go with a C minus, man, because, you know, when I looked at it, you know, I'm already predisposed going, okay, you know, let me see what you got. And it starts off with so much promise. The first two acts, I'm like, okay, if this third act is tight, this could be a really good movie. And it was not. So I'm like, no. Okay, so Charles, you missed that one, man. So, but hopefully you can jump in on this next one, which debuted on HBO Max this morning. And of course, we're talking about Reminiscence, a sci-fi thriller written and directed by Lisa Joy, for everybody remembers from Westworld. This is in her feature directorial debut. She's got Hugh Jackman as a scientist who discovers a way to relive people's past and use it to search for his long-lost love, played by Rebecca Ferguson. The film also stars Thandaway Newton.
Thandaway. Say her name right.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Thandaway Newton. Cliff Curtis, who I love as a character actor. Daniel Wu's also in it. So, you know, I'll start with Charles, because I know, Charles, you saw Reminiscence. Wilson, you saw it as well, right?
Yes.
All right, Charles, what did you think about this film? Because I'm going to go in the middle on this one.
You're going to go in the middle? Okay, I thought you were
I'm going to go in the middle, yeah, man.
Okay. To me, this was a very stylish film. I really actually like the tone of it. I mean, it is what it's one of those films that you feel like you've seen it before. A lot of stuff that I thought of Memento and some other things that were going on in this movie. I liked it. I would probably give it a C+ out of all of it, because I really like those stylish noir type of films. So, I see Lisa Joy tried to do something along this line, and I thought it worked for me in most cases. I enjoyed seeing Cliff Curtis again. Like you said, he's a great actor, and anytime he does stuff, I'm in for him. Hugh Jackman, yeah, it's Hugh Jackman. He's not Wolverine, but you know, he's all right as this detective. So I gave it a C+.
Okay. You know, you just heard me say a couple of minutes ago when we were talking about our first film today that I am predisposed to not be a big fan of those sorts of films. This sort of concept, I like high concept, right? And I love time travel films. So I like stories that are able to transport, you know, usually these stories are futuristic stories where they have technology that we don't have, and they kind of show characters doing things that I think are sexy and exciting. I agree with you wholeheartedly about Lisa Joy, because if you watch Westworld, which I watched the first 2 seasons, stylistically, the film looks really, really good. Hugh Jackman, unlike you, I expect him not to be Wolverine in this story, but Hugh Jackman, I like as an actor. Rebecca Ferguson, who I've actually interviewed in the past for Mission Impossible, I like her as an actress, her work on The White Queen. So I like Rebecca Ferguson, right? Cliff Curtis, who, I can't say enough about him, and not necessarily just for this movie. I just like Cliff Curtis. If you think about him in films like Training Day, he plays all sorts of ethnicities quite well. Colombiana, so I've followed his work, and every time I see him in a film, I expect a certain level of performance, and he never disappoints me. Now, getting back to the film, though, this movie would be described best as a slow burn. You got a lot of activity happening. You're trying to piece together this technology that they have, that they put some sort of device on your head, lower you into the water, and then he can go back like a detective and kind of go through your memories, ask you certain questions, put himself in the room. So I thought that part of the film really worked well. The issue I have with the film, and with Charles, when you talked about the tone, I just felt like it was long. Like it felt like an overlong episode of like a Westworld-ish sort of spinoff. And I was like, I'm there for it. It was kind of obvious where the story was going. There's a slight twist in it that might throw you off. But the movie didn't veer too far going in from where I thought it was going to go. I just thought that it just felt overly long, even though the fact that it really wasn't long. I mean, it's a fair film. If I had to give it a grade, I would agree with just C+, B-. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's the best thing that I've seen this year, not even remotely close, but it's far from the worst. It's just a serviceable, nice movie that will do some business. And in 2 weeks, you'll be like, what about Reminiscence? I'll be like, oh, yeah, that did come out. And, but it's not something I'm going to remember. Wilson, what'd you think?
I saw this a while back, and the first thing I said is it's somewhat trying to be a film noir, trying to take it back. Rebecca Ferguson plays this femme fatale in a way that you can kind of go there with, and they try to add in, because it's Lisa Joy, this futuristic sci-fi, essence to it, and to some degree it works a bit. Somewhere along the middle, there was another subplot in there that just kind of threw the story off, with the guy and his mom and his son. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we seeing? They're like, if you just focused in on Hugh or Rebecca and try to make a, when you do a film noir, there's romance involved. And it's sort of like, you instead of trying to do the basic boy meets girl, they get together, they lose it, somehow the relationship, dwindles, and then they find their way back to each other. We weren't so much getting this, at least not in that order. And so, like, at the end of the day, like both of you guys have said, it's like, oh, I don't think much of it. It's like, Charles mentioned Memento and all of that. Lisa Joy happens to be the wife of Jonathan Nolan, brother of Christopher Nolan. So there's a little bit of that in there, and I think Jonathan's a producer of sorts on this movie, so like there's a little bit of it. Who knows? I always believe there are certain movies that don't play well during its time, but grow eventually, depending on how people see it. Because, you can all say that when we all grew up, some of these movies that we watched on TV growing up, that we were either young or didn't have the money to see it in theaters, didn't get the best reviews. But when we saw it on TV, maybe at the comfort of our home, we saw it differently than when it plays in the theaters. So who knows where this film lands down the road. For now, it doesn't seem to always work, but who knows how people may see it later on. I give it a C.
You give it a C too?
Yeah.
Dang, this is really rare, man, that, you know, we're all lockstep, like thinking the same. Normally, one of us will veer off and be like, oh, man, you tripping. You're not lucky. It's interesting, but yeah, man, Reminiscence. I don't know, Wilson. I mean, not necessarily the Night House, but
I'll take this movie over the Night House.
Well, I would too, but I'm just saying it ain't great. I mean, so, you know, okay, so we got one more film left that I want to talk about this week. Hopefully this will lift everybody's spirits. And of course, I'm talking about The Protégé, which is an action thriller directed by Martin Campbell, written by Richard Wink, starring Michael Keaton, Maggie Q, Samuel L. Jackson. I can stop right there. Everybody else is immaterial. The story is really about those three people. The film talks about or focuses on Anna, played by Maggie Q, who's an assassin raised by Moody, starring Samuel L. Jackson, after he discovers her in the aftermath of a massacre in Saigon. They travel the globe and complete high-profile contracts, and then there's a thing that happens, and I'm not going to spoil it, so we'll talk about that. I'm going to lead off on this one. Protégé was a film, if you're looking at my shirt, that says LFF, which stands for the Lakefront Film Festival, and it is not a pride shirt, as Wilson Morales erroneously reported. We tried to get this movie for the Lakefront Film Festival, and I was told that it is not a festival film, which means more independent. Why is Wilson laughing, man? It's not a festival film. It's not an independent, kind of brooding, moody film, so I get that. But what it is, it's a film starring one of the people who I don't think we get to see enough of in American motion pictures. And honestly, I don't think we get a chance to see Maggie Q a lot because they don't really know what to do with her. You know, is she a romantic lead? We don't make enough action films where we feature women. So I don't really think they know what to do with Maggie Q, which is why it's always welcome. And I look forward to seeing her in films. She, as I said, plays an assassin in this film who's working with Moody, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And I must say, to me, despite the fact that I love Maggie Q and I love Sam Jackson, the surprise of this film is probably the best performance by Batman, aka Michael Keaton, who's Batman-esque in this movie. Yes, he's Batman-esque. If you would have been at the screening with us, we were having fun as critics in the press. Everybody was going, oh man, look at Batman. He's doing it again. Batman, Michael Keaton is really, really good in this movie. This is probably Keaton's strongest performance in, I don't know, a couple of years. I thought Keaton was really good in this film. Basically what happens is that there's a wonderful subplot set up in the first act that shows how Moody and Anna get together, and then the work they're doing through acts 1 and 2. Somewhere along the line, the wrong people are aware of their existence, and they try to go about eliminating both of them. I thought that the action in this film works really, really well. Martin Campbell, of course, who's done films like Casino Royale, he nails the action part. Maggie Q is a wonderful action star and does, I wouldn't call them Jackie Chan-esque stunts, but some pretty good stunts that are in this film. I liked a lot about this, even the romantic element, you know, the kind of, we love the love-hate relationship that blossoms in the romance between Anna and Rembrandt, played by Michael Keaton. I liked a lot of this movie, man. And to me, this is easily the best movie that we have this weekend. I would say you got to check out The Protégé. I give The Protégé a B. I like this movie a lot. And since he's smiling, Wilson Morales will not go last. Wilson, what am I saying that's incorrect about The Protégé? Or did you just absolutely, utterly hate this movie and can't believe I'm lavishing praise on it?
Remember that series, Spy vs. Spy? The cartoon.
Spy versus Spy, yeah.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. I kept thinking now, like, this movie has the names Michael Keaton and Sam Jackson. And like you said, Maggie Q, you know, they don't know what to make out of her. You know, she's got a certain skill set, but she's not screaming like, I'm going to go check this out. I'm sorry, but, you know, and I'm thinking like, if we had done this movie like 10 years ago, this could have been Cynthia Rothrock and Chuck Norris, you know.
That movie would have been 25 years ago, man. That's not 10 years ago.
you know, and it's like
Cynthia Rothrock. Damn.
You know, it's like we go there, you know, and I'm like, what is going on? It's like Michael Keaton was having fun. He was like, oh, I'm paying for my house with this movie. You say like there's a point in time where you're like, call a realtor. Call a realtor. Sam Jackson, I'm like, yo, Sam, what's going on? It's like,
well, Sam's stealing money, man. I mean, come on, bro.
Sam's taking money like at all. Like he's like, oh,
they said, Sam said, where's the shoot? In Vietnam? Yeah, we gonna get us a family trip. This is
he probably saw the script and was like, can I get Michael Caine's number? Did he turn this down?
But see, I disagree. I don't think for Keaton and Q, now Sam Jackson,
you know, like you got Avengers money. You're like, yo, dude, what are you doing to this one? It's like, yo,
Sam, what's in your wallet, Sam?
And then I don't mind Michael Martin Campbell. This is his genre, you know, all the way through. James Bond, The Foreigner was good. Well, Jackie Chan.
It was.
The Foreigner was good. This one was like, that third act was like silly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that third act was like, come on now. You know, come on. You know, I was like, hey, you know what? It's a throwaway. It's Lionsgate. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow. Wilson Morales is having a Charles Kirkland week from like 2 weeks ago, man. Like every movie, like
it's like, you know, I didn't mind that scene. That you know, but if you told me this was going to be on Tubi, you know, I may go check it out.
Wow. But you know what? I'm not mad at Wilson. If you feel that way, I'm not mad at you. So, what would you give this movie, Wilson?
I'd give it like a C-. You know, like it's like a C-. Like Tim, you must have been like, oh, I don't have to think. Okay, I'm with this movie.
No, you know what happened, Wilson? I saw Reminiscence in the Night House earlier in the week. I was like, woo, this is good.
I'm up. You know, the brain is still going. It's still functioning like action. Oh,
I mean, but Wilson, but Wilson, look, all joking aside, you do know that plays a role. Like, have you ever gone to a screening, something bad happened to you before you walked into the screening room, and then you took it out on the movie? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, no, I try to be.
Yes, you have.
I try to be professional and be like, nah, this movie, you know, it's like, nah, I see it as it is, and I'm tuned in. You know, when I go in to see a movie, it's like they're tuned in.
Wilson is special, and he's lying to you, because every critic I know has had situations like you might be having a bad day and you see a movie on a bad day, and then you come back and watch the movie later and go, hey, it really wasn't that bad. Maybe it was just me.
Oh, maybe.
I know that's happened.
Nah, it's like, nah, because you know why? Because it'd have to be really bad, no matter how bad you're feeling from what the previous incident may have been. You go in a movie and you're like, you usually just fall asleep, like tune it out because I'm tired, you know, or you're like, wow. or you leave or you walk out and you're like, this movie was horrible. There was no pacing. No, I don't do that. You know, like,
so Wilson was not a big fan of the Protégé. Charles, what do you think about the Protégé? Are you closer to Wilson or are you closer to me?
You know, earlier you talked about how we have differing opinions, and that's where we often lie.
Right.
I'm differing with you on the fact that you said that this is Michael Keaton's best work that he's done in a long time.
Give me another good Michael Keaton performance within the last 10 years.
He was nominated for Birdman.
Okay, all right, stop. Yes, Birdman was great, right? But let me ask you another question, right? Because again, you know, I see all of the film critics about to come out. I'm asking you a common sense, regular person on the street question. How many people remember Birdman? How many people remember it? No, I'm talking about if I walked outside right now and said, hey man, I was watching Birdman last night. He'd be like, what? Now again,
you didn't say the full title.
And I'm not going to say the full title because I don't even remember the full title. But my point is, so what else is Michael Keaton good at?
Spotlight.
How about
Okay.
Spider-Man? He just did a
Watch
Spider-Man.
this. You know what?
He
I am wrong. Instead of me trying to fight you, I clearly enjoy watching my Michael Keaton having fun on screen instead of being tortured in Birdman, being serious, chasing rapists in Spotlight, and in Spider-Man, I guess he was having fun.
What about the one where he played the McDonald's guy?
Man, please, again, okay, you're not listening to me. I want the fun, kick ass.
What about the one where he did opposite Dylan O'Brien and Sanaa Lathan?
What film was that?
You know, I'm gonna get you guys a fire stick because
No. I have a fire stick, but remember, I'm trying to encompass over 100, trying to remember 100 years worth of movies I watched. So that's why I'm looking at you like, what was the name of the movie?
The movie was
and I noticed nobody has the name of it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember that they did a movie together. I just don't remember the title. But I guess what I will say, right? You're correct that he has given several really good performances.
American Assassin.
Okay, American Assassin. But again, to my point, I like my Michael Keaton when he looks like he's enjoying himself and having fun on screen. All the movies you've named, he's really solid in as a dramatic actor. Now, this is a dramatic role, but it's clearly a departure where he looks like he's enjoying himself more because there's a romantic element in it. There's action in it. I just liked seeing him play this sort of role.
The Trial of the Chicago 7?
Okay.
Wait. How about this one? He was the best thing in Need for Speed.
RoboCop.
Okay, man.
And Need for Speed, he was that crazy having fun guy.
If you're at home and you're watching this right now, just keep remembering they're giving me performances that are very serious. The Need for Speed, I didn't even bother to watch that. So,
Spider-Man was huge. Spider-Man was
huge. Okay, so I go back to my original statement because I'm not gonna flip flop. I thought Michael Keaton was great. This is probably one of the best fun Michael Keaton performances that I've seen in years. So I will say that, not saying it's his best, quote unquote, his best performance, because he's obviously given better, quote unquote, acting performances, but I just loved seeing him in this way as he is in the Protégé. So I will leave it at that. How's that? Without you guys,
just go to ABC and try out to be the new host of Jeopardy, because you.
Charles, what did you think about the Protégé as Wilson is just taking shots?
Well, having said all that about Michael Keaton, I also agree with you about Maggie Q. I really wished that she had stuck with the Mission Impossible franchise. That one-off movie that she did in that series, I thought they could have brought more to her character. And this movie actually gives us the idea of what she could have been like if she had continued in that franchise. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of action. I'm not on Wilson's side saying it was a terrible movie and that it didn't make sense. This is an action film, and it was a
nonsensical.
I had fun with it, and I gave it a B-. So
I know it's funny.
I did disagree that, I think Michael Keaton is great in the film. I don't think it's his best work ever, but I did think he was very entertaining in the film.
I didn't say it was his best work ever. I said it was his best work in a number of years. That's what I said.
You did everything but imply, and you did everything but say, you're not worthy. You're not worthy.
Wow. So several weeks ago on this show, we did a review of a movie, and Charles complained that he was looking for a character to do something action worthy in a drama, and we were both looking at him like, so that's kind of how I feel about Wilson. Wilson is watching an action movie saying it doesn't make any sense, and I'm like, compared to what we reviewed early in the show, it makes a lot of sense. It's like this movie's like Citizen Kane compared to Reminiscence.
No, because you got Michael Keaton, you got Sam Jackson. I'm like,
you got Maggie Q. Maggie Q is great, and I go back.
Yeah, Maggie Q was like, she got that script. It was like, let me just put on my Nikita persona.
they don't know what to do with him, man, and it's unfortunate in Hollywood that if you don't fit into a certain kind of type that they can cast you. Like you look at somebody like Ryan Reynolds, right? You look at somebody like Star-Lord, what's his name? Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
They have tons of roles that they can interchange these guys and stick them in and out and move them around. Maggie Q just doesn't fit into a lot of those boxes. She's action. They don't really know what to do with action. You know, like, what do we do with her? So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah,
until recently, there wasn't a lot of action stuff for women. So right. That was also the problem, that they just didn't have these roles in Hollywood. And now with all these superhero things, I'm surprised she hasn't really signed on in one of those fields.
Well, actually, here's the thing. 20 years ago, they could have made a bunch of movies for her like they did Cynthia Rothrock. You know what I'm saying? But
you and Cynthia Rothrock, did you and Cynthia Rothrock date once or something? You keep
no. I'm talking about think about it. At the end of the day, when they talk about Charlize, think about it. Charlize Theron is they give her these type of roles which she can kick ass. That she's done in other films.
Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. Obviously,
the old guard.
The old guard, they find roles like that. It's like, okay, who are these women? Who are the roles? You look at Michelle Rodriguez. Michelle Rodriguez does not want those. She'd rather take an action role because that's her thing. She don't want, she said herself, she doesn't want a role where she's just like being like normal. It's like, no. If she's got a skill set, let her use it. Now you just got to find the right plot for her that makes sense, And that's a good vehicle for Maggie Q. I just thought they could have done a little bit more better for the writing on this. You got a lot of big names. Martin Campbell goes from James Bond to this. It's like, dude, it's like everybody's taking a check, except for Maggie Q.
Wow. All right. So before we get out of here, man, episode 2 of What If dropped earlier this week. And of course, it was the last time we got a chance to see Chadwick Boseman. We didn't really want to talk about it leading into that episode. I was looking online and the reaction was what I expected it to be, that a lot of people felt bittersweet watching him. What did you guys think about episode 2 of What If?
It's seeing him, obviously he did that before he passed away. And, the whole subplot about, nobody's playing who they're supposed to be playing. And but with him, it was a dedicated episode for him, and I'm sure they probably worked it for that moment. I don't think they had in mind it was going to be just on him, but probably when things happen, they worked around it. Decent episode, it's like all the episodes are different from the other. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go overall with this show. Because it's like, what is if? It's like every episode is different. There's no continuity from one episode to the next.
Charles?
It wasn't really until the episode came to a conclusion that it made me think about, oh man, that was Chadwick again, and that's his last role, and that's his last time we're ever going to hear him. And then
in something new, yeah.
I spoke about it again at the beginning of the show, how wrongly he was done by the Academy. So it was bittersweet for me to see him, to hear him in that last performance. Again, the series, What If, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to, because everything they do somehow ties together. I'm trying to figure out what are we supposed to get out of this series that's going to play into the MCU. But it is what it is. It's an interesting little journey, I guess you could say, just to see how things could be different. But,
Well, I think the thing that both of you guys are missing, and I've said it, I've learned that I'm very patient, and I'll give Kevin Feige a lot of rope, because I remember watching the first 3 episodes of WandaVision back in January. I didn't know what to make of that. I was like, why are we watching all these old sitcoms, and what does it all mean? And by the time we got to the end of that thing, like 6 weeks later, I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. I think, to further illuminate What If, when people like Wilson are saying that every episode is different, I think that's by design. But I feel like next week's episode, which is the murder mystery, is probably the one that probably plays the best into tying into future events, because we're going to be entering the age, or we have entered the age with the death of He Who Remains. in the final episode or final installment of season 1 of Loki, that we've now opened up the multiverse, right? So later on, when we get Spider-Man Far Away, we got the Eternals dropping in November. Shang-Chi, am I pronouncing that correct? His name is Sean in there, so Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yes.
Shang-Chi. I think, you know, when you watch that film, you'll also see that, which we can't really talk about it, but that will also, all these events, Wilson, I guess what I'm trying to say, will lead to the multiverse. And that's what I think all of this is about. What If is a huge 9-episode arc of looking at multiversal sorts of stories. So Charles, I know you've read these things, so you probably are much more versed in them than I. Am I going in the right track when I'm talking about, you know, the multiverse is the reason that, you know, like when Wilson is saying, where's this thing going? It's going toward the multiverse. Am I correct?
I'm going to say yes, but, you know, I didn't know we were supposed to talk about episode 3 yet. It seemed as though I didn't
really talk about it. I basically said that it's a murder mystery that talks about, leads into the multiverse. That's all I said. We didn't review it. I didn't say anything about it. Because you can go online and read, that's the synopsis of episode 3. Am I correct, Wilson?
No.
Oh, no, it's not there. It's not
there. Sorry, Disney.
Like, you talk about my
it's a murder mystery. I didn't say anything more than that it's a murder mystery.
You know, that's the whole point
anyway, I think there has been a character that has been introduced in the What If series so far that we have not seen before and will play a role in the upcoming events of the Marvel Universe.
You're talking about the narrator?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Right? The Watcher? Yeah.
Watcher. Yeah.
Yeah. So Wilson can say the Watcher, but I can't say murder mystery.
Because he's already introduced himself as the Watcher.
I'm teasing you, man. That was a joke, man.
And he gave me a
they call that doubling down.
Let me just say, Disney, I'm just here for the ride. I'm not just divulging.
He said I was the inspiration for the Watcher. Did you see that? Did you see
Wilson,
that, Charles?
it's called doubling down, man. You make a mistake, you double down, man. You don't apologize for your mistake, just double down. So, yes. So moving forward, that's what I feel that the direction that they're going, because these are all stories that look at the multiverse. And in the upcoming film, I think we will explore it some more. So I'm just very excited for where the Marvel universe is going. And despite the fact that they're the Charles Kirklands, the Travis Hobsons, the Shireen Nicoles, the Julian Lytles, all of these mad comic book nerds who read all these stories when they were kids. It's glad to see that even you guys are slightly surprised at how they're putting all of this stuff together. So I say all of that to say that. So we're about to wrap it up right now. Wilson Morales has given me that I've got to go and interview some people more important than you. Look on his face right now.
Nah, I'm good.
Wilson's like, I got a junket coming up. So Wilson, what do you got coming up this week, man, before we get out of here? What do you got coming up this weekend?
Dear Evan Hansen, coming up. It doesn't open until September. You've got, what else is there? BMS.
You're not there before the Deviant comes.
Huh? The variant, Deviant,
All right, so you got Evan Hansen.
Let's see what else. You got, season 2 of the Wu-Tang series.
They're back.
Just got those episodes. I got episodes of BMF. You've got, a lot of stuff on TV now. Nowadays, now that people are not really going back to theater, it's like, you got a lot of stuff now. These movies are coming. There's a movie on Netflix, Sweet Girl. I want to check that out with Jason Momoa. It's kind of fun. We don't really talk about Netflix films because they don't put them out like that, like movies. But they do have a couple of things out there. But then some of them are forgettable. Did anybody see Gunpowder Milkshake?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh yeah. That was that this year.
Yeah. Look, that was like 3 weeks ago.
It was like months ago.
That was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that right. That's yeah.
Yeah, he threw a mad shade.
Cue Reminiscence. That's how it would be. If you asked me that in 2 weeks, you remember Reminiscence, right? Yeah. Was that last year?
Jackman tanned away the first time, two Austins working together.
Hey, you know, they have a phrase that says, don't hate the player, hate the game, man. It's not my fault that Netflix puts out 2,000 movies every 3 months. You can't follow them all. There's stuff. Charles was bringing up a movie today I had never heard of before. I was like, is that on Netflix? Not on my queue. I don't see that movie. So it is what it is, man. Charles, what do you got coming up this weekend, man?
I got a lot of time on my hands. I'm going to be watching a lot of movies and going a lot of places.
Well, I'm going to put in a shameless plug that I have a birthday coming up next Wednesday. So by the time we do this show next week, my birthday will have passed. Wilson and Charles, you've got my Venmo information, my PayPal information, send gifts to the guy wearing the LFF shirt. Charles just turned off his camera. So,
hey, I'm going to say happy the big 7-0,
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, when you black, you could be 70. I mean, we all look good. We use that melanin well.
I'll make sure I throw in the next shipment of those, those plugs, those little things that make you look young.
Wow, man. All right. Well, on that note, this is what you need. Why use enemies when you got Wilson Morales, man?
Like that.
As we say to you in closing every week on the show, please see something good at the movies. Among the 3 movies that Wilson just basically threw shade on all of them, just make a choice. see one of them, man. The one that he shaded the least. See that one.
Don't see the Night House.
Yeah. Please, the Night House is the nighty night house, because that's what all happens.
Whatever you see this week, get a cappuccino.
I like the Protégé. That's my choice this week. But until then, man, you guys enjoy your time. Thank you. That is episode 468 of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon, and we will see you guys next week. You enjoy your weekend. Take care.
All right, folks. Take care.
All right. Bye.